Hey guys, welcome in. This is Grant. I'm Grant with Play Every Way as a transport additional piece to Spectral Tone Tarot, and today we will be doing a free flow yo. It's a free flow yo, so it's a 3D yo-yo. It's a means to be able to go ahead and kind of just tickle into those different pieces that we're all going through. Now, if this is popping up on your thing, I want you to go ahead and stop and take a moment, feel into it, and see that this just is divinely timed. This is guided. This is the exact right moment that you're meant to be seeing this. Now, if you are seeing this on October 10th, 2025, awesome, even better bonus, amazing. It's a portal day. Some good shit happening. If not, and it's a little bit later, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It's still perfect timing. Okay, so let's jump into it. So now what we picked up was a heavier set from our Sea Breeze range. So it's a case of there are cycles and tides within your life that are beginning to form, and it's some of these old pieces of motion, like things that are, let's say, from childhood, from like when you first started kind of having that bit of personality. And what's happening at the moment is that, or has been happening for a lot of you, has been a case of doubt. And I say has been because, you know, it's kind of like that thing. And there's this natural, really beautiful wake-up call, which is, excuse me, because it does feel a little bit rude, but it's not. But it's that thing of, you've kind of just started looking at the people around you and realizing, hey, all of these people are has-beens. And it's not coming from a space of judgment or doubt. It's just a space of like acknowledgement, or like, shit, like if I were to meet these people and not know them, I would kind of just be like, oh, they're cool, but I've got X, Y, Z all the way through projects that I'm working on, so I'm going to keep focusing on those. And it's a bit of a challenging wake-up call for you in a way, because there's nothing wrong with them. You know, like that's kind of the thing. It's just a case of realizing like, oh, the coaches you've been going to haven't been coaching you out of where you're wanting to be, because for them, that's exactly where they want to be. And that's kind of just realizing a different conversation that's happening. And this is kind of leading to a lot of like small things, you know, like small changes in the way that you live, in the way that you move, in the way that you choose to plan your life, you know. And it's kind of coming from, there's more than you than not that have realized that there's only so much that you can plan. And as a result of that, planning those smaller pieces, you know, like how it is that you're going to eat, what you're going to have for food, what you're going to choose to like listen to for music, like all of these pieces are actually really, really important for you to focus on, because you don't have to, you know, it's like it's going to keep going round and round and round and round and round. But if you start adjusting some of those, you can then start beginning to put a little bit of your own spin into it. And you know, I know that these things can be a bit challenging and that they have been actually going really well, but that's where it's a case of knowing now that on this time, in this space, in this way, as we move towards the, well, whatever time it is, but it's a case of like these motions are beginning to now integrate, you know, where it used to be a lot of challenge to kind of break free, you know, from some of these elements of yourself, whereas now you're kind of beginning to have a lot more natural motion with it. And that natural motion means that you're now finding that you're actually kind of like realizing why people have said a lot of things to you along the way. You know, things that people would say in passing. And sometimes they would hurt because people wouldn't do very much effort to try and like make constructive criticism, and it kind of ended up just being a lot of criticism. So now there's a lot of like more beneficial elements coming in with it, and you're now ready for it. You know, you're ready to hear what people are saying. You're ready to see what it is that they're trying to help you with, but now on your own time and your own space. And that's where it's kind of like, you know, there's a lot of like self-esteem that's being built, but not necessarily just self-esteem of as in like I am so great, but actually like it's quite existential, because it's coming through the space of a development of true self-esteem. And it's kind of like it's putting you back to some of the people that you have worked with in the past, where it's been necessary to go ahead and hear other ways of doing it and ways that have worked for other people, and they're good ways, they're very good ways, but it kind of just didn't hit the right tone in the past because it wasn't coming from the right place in that regard, or you weren't in the right space. I mean, we can't say it's someone else's fault, but that's where the current theme of this whole process and this whole reading flow is that space of right space, because you know it's Like, it's easy to say that the thing's not moving right, but it's a case of what are you moving with regards to that thing. I can feel that many of you are just about entering a relationship with a good result of them having just entered into a relationship, and obviously you're now getting to that point where it's like, oh flip, like now I'm actually starting to see this person, and that's where the easiest thing to say is to like actually see them, to see what's seeing this person, now that the rose-colored glasses are coming off, and actually see like the experience of seeing them in the good, in the bad, in all of it, because that's relationship. It's that relationship between the two of you. And for those of you that feel completely separate to it and not wanting to be in a relationship, don't worry, and even if those of you that are, very few of you actually, wonderfully, amazing, good job guys. And I say good job because relationships come based on what it is that we've been doing, the cycle. So for most of you, it seems like your growth has been continuous and you've been working really, really hard to change these motions and relating with those around you so that you can go ahead and more easily make changes in your own space-time experience. And as a result of doing that, you're now getting less like clutter, shall we say, less clutter in your space, because you're not so stagnant, you're not so weighed down. And what this means is that the people that would normally have come in as lessons to be able to be like, oh flip, that's what I need to still work on, you've actually just been like up leveling through those, and you're now getting to a point where it's like, and this is where this is an important reading to see, to experience, to hold, to allow to do its thing with you, is because we're presently moving, and again, this is timeless, so it's an active portal in that regard, but we're presently moving through the space of like fated encounters and fated opportunities. And the opportunities that we're encountering are us. For me, it's been this very much this thing of like, what are those things that I've been saying I need to get to doing this for so long? Okay, so like that backlog, I need to actually get through the backlog. Like, I know that it's okay, and I have sufficient self-esteem, true self-esteem, but that feeling of, even if this doesn't, it's not contingent on getting this thing done. But because of that base, that foundation, it's a case of like, okay, but who can I be if I have my backlog for me done? Like if I've caught up on all of the things I've been putting off. And that's where it's a case of, like what perspective are you drawing of yourself, and how complete is it? Because we're always living a perspective of who we think others think we are. So it's a case of how to go ahead and then more easily bring that into our own heart, very much into that real space of experience of being like, here we are, we're here and now. And from this fiery point of view, what can we do? What can we grow? What can we become? How can we bring it into being? And that's the current piece of work, so to speak. Current piece of opportunity for us to more readily move with, become with, operate on. And it's very much about finding ways to break free from what you have been. And the key here is it's not rebelling just for the sake of rebelling. We're kind of past that point. It's now a case of, how can I go ahead and see what it is that my natural motion, like, for some of you it'll be how you choose to show up in the world, how you choose to style yourselves, how you choose to speak, what you choose to speak about, what it is that you feel is actually important to change versus the smoke and mirrors of life, and how it is that you feel to do it. And it gets this feeling of a lot of you have kind of been uncertain about, raising your voice and standing up and, just doing it because of ramifications, because of what if people take what you're saying on board as fact, when in actual fact it's always up for them to go ahead and say it, because you're just going ahead and basically looking to find ways to share your gift. And in doing so, it's a case of doing it openly and honestly, and a case of saying, you know what guys, I'm going to do the very best I can. 100% the very best I can. And I'm going to trust that you guys are going to as well, because I'm going to trust that I'm working on myself sufficiently, that that's what we're bringing in, we're working with, we're doing, we're allowing, we're actively creating. And one of the other things, and this is just still like a little bit in the back, so I know for some of you you've completely moved through it, in which case, guys, if there are any tips that you found moving through these slight uncertainties of other people, where it is that other people haven't chosen you, so to speak, and how it is that you were able to completely let it go, please do share anything in the comments below. I know it can really help us. Just kind of experiencing what was really simple to us, to one person, can really be life-changing to another. And the piece I'm describing is that, I love how you guys pay attention, it's really great, by the way, is that of like you suddenly realizing the feelings for someone and what that person has kind of been in your life, and then like, it's kind of like the 2020 hindsight situation, but also that thing of like actually realizing the aliveness of it and like the woe-ness of it, and then from that being like, okay, well, let me now do that and live that and exist that and experience that and express that. And this other person just being like, oh no, boring. Or not even like just there not being a back and forth with it, no dynamic being created. And the key here is very much just to go ahead and say, you know what, they're lost. And obviously, how it is that you come to the recognition of their loss is unique to each person, but it's a case of realizing this for opportunities, for experiences, for expansions, for whatever it is, whatever thing has been happening. And this is where it's also just good, like good, like fuck yeah, like this person didn't want to recognize me as a whole human being, epic, like their loss, and also because that thing of realizing like, oh, that means that I as a human being and where I've been living from have been choosing people that will be incapable of recognizing me, which means that like either I need to go ahead and alter the pattern that I'm doing, or the pattern of how it is that I am doing me, like how I'm recognizing me, because it must mean that I'm making space for these people. And that's where it's a bit of an audit that's required, because it's kind of just a case of where have I been giving energy, and then just being like, I'm not going to need to curate and completely take apart all of the spaces and things and experiences, but I am going to go ahead and say, look, I want to focus on my development, my growth, my actualization, my becoming, my being, my wholeness, my whatever these things are that speak to you. But in that sense of saying like, you know what, it's okay. It's okay that you don't recognize me. It's okay that you go ahead and think that I'm stuck at this degree when actually there's a whole lot more play to the whole experience, and we could be having a lot more fun. I would rather go ahead and say thank you to you for the opportunity that you're giving me to up level, to be in resonantial match with resonance to that individual. So the core there is don't feel like you've lost out on the lottery of life, or like your pieces are finished. It's a case of, if you're feeling dissatisfied, and I can feel that you guys are very good at moving through dissatisfaction, which is really good stuff. But that level of frustration that's still there, which is what's ultimately leading these pieces of dissatisfaction to arise into your experience and your expansion, is a case of saying, okay, it's done. It's done. Like those things of needing to make the necessary changes, I've done them. And not as in like, deluding yourself. There's a certain level of being aware of what your actions are and the fact they're actually ultimately leading you to that change, but also just like actually giving yourself like the little bit of a checkpoint of saying like, you know what, I have gone ahead and checked the results, the balances, all of these different things I require, and let me now go ahead and have it be finished. Let me have it be done. Let me have it be complete, so to speak, so that I can now move on to the next developmental phase. And that's, it's really one of those things that's just going to keep hitting you on the head, or has been hitting you on the head. It actually doesn't have to hit you on the head anymore. That's what the whole it's done is. And it's really wonderful, and it's actually super exciting, guys. But this shift, this thing that you have opened up to, and you have actually like completed a whole section of elements just by allowing yourself to come and see this very moment, to realize that the components of who you have been becoming, the modular pieces, have been building this foundation so that you can go ahead and actually now stand up and say, okay. I don't really know what's okay. I don't really know what the next step is. I don't really know what any of these pieces lead to, but I also am cognizant enough to realize that that's not the most important thing. It's not about knowing or having anything logical based point you to it. It's about the spooky something that just calls to you through the very life and essence of existence, and to say, okay, universe, you know what? I see you. I trust you. Show me how great it gets, because I'm ready to now play ball. And that's what you're doing. And there was 14-4-4. So like, guys, You're exactly where you're meant to be. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is always just a bit of internal tuning for your own intuition. So just know to like recognize that whole thing that's awake and live and living. And it could be that you are as deeply tuned in with it as possible, or as challenged with it as you could ever be. But it's okay. Like, you're exactly where you're meant to be doing. And I just want to remind you that whatever you're experiencing now is there exactly as it's meant to be. And you are blessed with this experience, good or bad, of whatever it is that you never get to experience again. So I just want to say, enjoy it, no matter what it is. If it's a good day, if it's a bad day, if it's anything in between, if it's the dullest day of the world, enjoy it, because there's no moment, no experience, no anything where you could ever have this exact thing ever again. And just know that what you're doing is contributing to something more amazing than the human mind can even begin to comprehend. And I'm so grateful that you continue to go, and I'm so excited to hear what's happening in your life. Let me know down in the comment. Lots of love. Cheers, guys. Bye.